While many boats, even steamboats, are named for women, very few have had a woman stand at their wheel in the role of captain. Born in 1867, Captain Mary Becker Greene is perhaps one of the most iconic women to ever sail America's rivers, and one of the first to answer the call as a steamboat captain. Mary married Captain Gordon C. Greene in 1890, and while standing watch with her husband in the pilot house of the packet boat the H.K. Bedford, she learned the ins and outs of piloting and running steamboats. By 1896, she was granted her own pilot's license and took command of the Argand, even during a time when packet boats were steadily losing ground to the ever-expanding railroad systems. What kept the Green Line afloat and showing lucrative profit was how much their customers liked the lady captain's refinement and dependability. They liked it so much so that while other companies were folding under pressure, the Green Line was adding to their fleet, both at home and in service. Mary would give Gordon 3 sons, all born and raised on the boats. In fact, her son Tom would be born on the side-wheeler Greenland while it was stuck in an ice jam. At the height of its operations, Green Line would operate 12 packet boats that carried freight and passengers along the Ohio River and its tributaries. But sadly, Gordon would pass away very suddenly in 1927, leaving his sons Tom and Chris to take up the helm alongside their mother Mary in a grueling and competitive business world that remained profitable even through the war years. Freight was profitable. It was passenger cruising that became a great highlight of their acumen. The Gordon C. Greene, named for Mary's love, was a beautiful boat with all of its ornate yesteryear decor and warmth, and it took sellout crowds on trips along the Ohio, Tennessee, and Mississippi rivers, to name a few. While customers loved the scenery and the food, they truly adored their hostess and captain, Mary. And by 1946, Captain Tom Greene decided to invest profits in a second passenger vessel. This would be a boat like no other, one that needed to be saved from the cruel fate of scrap and salvage after serving a term in the U.S. Navy as a yard ferry boat during the war, and being cast aside as surplus as a reward for her faithful service. She was the luxurious pride of the Sacramento River, and Tom was smitten. She was the Delta Queen, and she was meant for greater things. At the end of a highly publicized month-long journey that took her through the Panama Canal, the Delta Queen arrived safe and sound in New Orleans, where she underwent an extensive refitting and renovation period to restore her from yard ferry boat to passenger cruiser. The opulent and magnificent Delta Queen would be christened as the new flagship of the Green Line on June 30, 1948, and she and Mary proudly welcomed their public in style. It's said that Mary was so dedicated to the Queen that she was the first person to move aboard, living in Captain G, now known as 109, for the rest of her life. She loved to dance and entertain, and she never tired of spellbinding passengers with her river experiences. As she aged, the cabin was even refit to meet her needs, as Mary stubbornly refused to retire. She was known for being deeply protective of the Delta Queen, often warning captains and pilots to handle her beloved boat with utmost care. Even the slightest bump would earn the reward of a scathing by the stalwart First Lady of the Rivers. On the 1st of April, 1949, Mary boarded the Delta Queen for a routine trip to New Orleans. During the trip, she was co-captain with her son, Captain Tom, but largely took up her beloved role of hostess and business manager. It would be her final cruise. Just 21 days later, on April 22, 1949, after returning to dock on the Ohio River in Cincinnati, Mary passed away aboard the Delta Queen at the age of 81. She left behind a legacy of being one of the most colorful and best-loved figures of the romantic era of stern-wheel steamboating. The Cincinnati Enquirer even reported, in her 59 years of steamboating, 52 of which she was a captain and pilot, Mother Greene got to know them all. Tragically, just 1 year later in 1950, Mary's last living son, Captain Tom Greene would collapse and pass away due to a fatal heart attack while serving aboard the Delta Queen. His wife, Letha, with 4 growing children, was determined to keep the steamboats in business and continued the work of her late husband and mother-in-law, effectively taking up the mantle of matriarch of the Greene line. Tune in later this month when we get to know her a little better. While Mary's story will never truly be finished so long as the Delta Queen's legacy continues, it does come with a fitting semi-final highlight. In the spring of 1988, Captain Mary Becker Greene would be honored with induction into the National Rivers Hall of Fame in Dubuque, Iowa, highlighting her indomitable spirit and dedication to her boats, America's riverways, and the mighty Delta Queen. A bronze statue of her stands proudly in Covington, Kentucky, overlooking the Cincinnati Public Landing to this day. It's with great admiration that the Delta Queen Steamboat Company cherishes and remembers the contributions of Captain Mary Greene and will continue to handle her beloved boat with the same dignity and care she would have demanded.